I've always struggled with memory, not in the failure to access it, but more so the invasion of it. It's difficult to try and make sense of this without sounding terribly dramatic, but memories tend to make me feel upset and uncomfortable. I find that there's a melancholy to them, even when they're reaching back to something mundane, trivial, or happy. I've always struggled with happiness as well, if I'm being completely honest with you. I find that it's fleeting, barely possible to grasp for an extended period of time. Sadness, on the other hand, sinks into your gut and it settles right down, at least in my own experience. The first time I wrote publicly about my own depression and mental health struggles, I used my earliest memory as a baseline, irrefutable evidence that supports the way I felt about myself from pretty much that moment forward. I'm about 5 years of age, and I'm eating something from a plate, right outside the back door of my house. The plate comes loose in my hands, and it falls to the concrete below, shattering into white, abstract, jagged, individual shards. In the cadence of many a 5-year-old child, I am suddenly hysterical, crying loudly at what has transpired and the mess that I have made. Only there's something else there, something greater, something more painful, something a therapist many years later would identify with the word wounded, which made great sense to me upon hearing it. My mother emerges, looking to comfort her son. She says not to worry, that everybody makes mistakes. No, they don't, I reply, just me. Intense self-rejection at just 5 years of age. No wonder my memories don't like me either. Maybe that's not fair. Perhaps it's illogical. I don't think memory is enemy, necessarily, but I can't relate to people who speak of doing things in life to create memories. You know, as if it's some form of vital currency to be cashed in down the line. I can't relate to that. I never could. I'd like to think that maybe one day I could, I might, but I just don't see it. I've gotten better at waving more troublesome memories away, the ones that crash in with seemingly no other purpose than to remind you of awful things that you said, did, or experienced. Have you ever seen that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report? It's a good movie. It's kind of about memories, in a way. In fact, they become quite pivotal by the end. But for the most part, it looks at a different form of mind manipulation, the ability to see the future play out in the form of criminal activity that can be prevented. It's all very sci-fi. But there's a physicality to how Tom Cruise's character structures those individual instances, his gloved hands dancing about like he's performing a symphony, weaving together and waving away, all at the same time. When I find myself breached by a memory that I absolutely do not want to face down, I imagine myself doing something similar to him, casting it out with a flourish worthy of Hollywood. It was eventually agreed upon that I would indeed confront a particularly difficult memory of mine, one that's likely in conversation with the broken plate on a patio in late 1980s Drogheda. I'm unsure of my exact age then, but I'm fairly certain I'm somewhere between 5 and 10. It's Christmas, I know that much, a time of year I always dread and never seem to enjoy. On this occasion, I'm given a walkman as a present, and instead of responding with curiosity and gratitude, I throw another hysterical fit. I guess I just wanted toys. Beyond that superficial and, let's be fair, quite childlike want, to this day I'm still not fully sure why I reacted with such heartbreak. Looking back now, as an adult, I feel tremendous shame and sorrow. It was something I rarely received elsewhere, like a thoughtful gift, one that makes a great deal more sense to my life now than then. But the child rejected it, much like he rejected himself. I can picture the faces around me that day. Concern, surprise, anger. I wish I could tell the kid to calm down. It's actually a better gift than most you'll ever get, and if they made an action figure of your adulthood, it would come with earphones and a music player of some description. And get this, you'll never need to even rewind a cassette tape ever again. Although, if you would like to do that, hipsters like you have ensured that you still can. I wasn't especially encouraged by my family environment or the people around me to get into music or journalism or much of anything really. My late father was a man for whom the bottom line made sense. He wanted me to have a steady job that paid well, rather than any direct flights of fancy into something more artful. For example, he greeted my purchase of a set of drums by dismissively asking me if I thought I'd become a rock star. I didn't, for the record, but perchance to dream and all that. And just for the sake of balance and the man's memory, my father liked music. It wasn't a big topic of conversation or a notable presence in the house, but he liked what he liked. In fact, he once gave me a list of songs he wanted me to download for him when he realised such a thing was possible, which I no doubt regarded as a mild inconvenience. But I can see the page in my head now, and the handwriting. Harry Nilsson was the first artist on there, I believe. Elvis Presley was in there, of course, his favourite. And I can picture the room that we were in. I'd give anything to go back there and be with him again, if only for a minute. As for myself, my own path towards music and movies and pop culture and all that comes with it was, well, largely my own. Friends helped here and there with recommendations and personalised mix CDs. Internet forums and purpose-built blogs helped me expand my palette or perhaps even finally properly curate it. As I said, I didn't become a rock star, but I did enjoy the hours spent in practice rooms and the minutes sweated out on stage with my friends. My dad even saw me play once, and he told me he was proud of me, at long last. I became a music journalist. I'm not sure one truly can become a music journalist anymore, to be honest with you. The days of Lester Bangs and Rolling Stone and all that are all long gone, and it takes a lot more than an occasional album review or artist interview to pay the rent in 2024. You really have to be an all-rounder. But everything has led to everything else. From the songs and albums I hold dear, the unforgettable gigs I've been to hosting and producing a music podcast for the last 8 years, to frequent contributions on national radio, to my day job as a podcast researcher and producer, and to the people in my life today. Music, as it turns out, has meant more to that kid than he could possibly have known. Increasingly in life, I find it's unfair and unhelpful to apply a present-day lens to the past. Context gets lost, for one, and on the other hand, your own personal context and life experience is going to greatly inform how you feel about it. We can't change the past, can't go back in time, and sometimes a memory can feel like it's present for no other reason than to punish you. Like I say, I continue to struggle with them. What I've come to realise writing this down and speaking it out loud has surprised me somewhat. Of course, I wish I could hug the child version of myself and tell him to embrace a part of himself that is waiting to explode, and one day will. Maybe while I'm at it, I'll give him a few cassette-based recommendations. But here's the other thing that I've come to realise in my adulthood. I wish I still had that Walkman.